And welcome back to Bless Your Heart. I'm Heather.
And I'm Carlisle. And just to kick things off, a little disclaimer this is for entertainment purposes only. All views expressed are our opinions or shared experiences. So bless your heart if you take it too seriously.
And last week, we talked about what's in our skies. And this week, we're going to talk about how Elon and Tesla have something in common with ancient Egypt. But first, let's talk about our Bless Your Hearts of the week, Carlisle.
I've got like so many things that I would love to talk about, but one thing that when I was just looking into this subject is the pyramids, especially I think the ones in Egypt are missing the tops, which is like how all the free energy would be coming. So it's like they want to tell us that it was looted or stolen. Like you're telling me somebody climbed to the top of the Great Pyramid, hoisted off just the tip, and then left. They said it was like because it had valuable materials, but I think it's because like maybe it's like the final piece of the machine that they need that was part of this ancient power grid. Crazy. We're
Interesting.
gonna get into some
Yeah,
stuff
it is pretty
tonight.
crazy. Well, since we're talking about ancient Egypt, with Elon moving his supercomputer data center to Memphis, I started going down that rabbit hole. So, my bless your heart of the week is the Memphis Zoo and the people that thought that they could get away with assuming that we would not wake up and realize that the Memphis Zoo looks just like an ancient Egypt structure. I mean, the entire thing. It blows my mind how, if you go and look at it, it looks like true Egypt. They kind of made fun of us, I think, right? They put these animals in there. We go and look at it, say, "Oh, it's like we're in Egypt." That's the theme of the zoo. But in reality, when you look closer, I mean, the architecture on there kind of reminds me of architecture in Egypt. I mean, it could be. You never know.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you got that zoo, but then also I saw a TikTok of this guy who was talking about the Bronx Zoo, and it has all of these like large griffin and grand structures, and it looks like it's something out of the old world. So it's like old school, like Tartarian type of architecture. But
Mhm.
it's funny how things are kind of hidden in plain sight, and we just like don't even know what it's about. So I think to understand what we're talking about tonight, we need to dig a little bit into the beef between Tesla and Edison because they came up with the same thing at like not the same thing. They came up with a similar technology at the same time, and it was a race to find out like who was going to be the one that everyone adopted. So let's dive into it. So tonight we're going to dig into the past, but before we do that, let's look at some things that are happening in the present right in front of our face. So it's always been interesting to me. It's like, why did Elon Musk name his company Tesla? So like I know you looked into that, so why don't you tell us some more?
Yeah. So he liked this name so much that he went and found a guy in Sacramento and paid him $75,000 for this name. And apparently, this guy for Elon did not want to sell it, but that he was a super nice guy.
Feels like a deal. 5K for the name Tesla. It's made him a lot of
Exactly.
money.
A lot of money. But it's interesting why he chose this name. And, my mind starts to wonder, well, my gosh, Nikola Tesla was this, I mean, genius who had free energy, and did they take him out? I don't know. But it's just funny how Elon in his interview says that, he admires Tesla, Nikola Tesla, and that's why he chose the name, but that he really admired Edison more so. But the reason that he picked the name Tesla was so that he thought, that Tesla or Nikola Tesla should have more recognition than what he did receive. And so we can go a little bit deeper into that later on, but I just thought that's kind of all interesting how, that's why he picked Tesla. So there's probably more to it. Elon doesn't always share everything. So we know there's probably a rabbit hole right behind what he's saying, right?
Yeah, I know. It's like so funny though, because if he was such a fan of Edison and then he named his company Tesla, it's like there is some little nugget there that he has given to us that we can't see. And we're gonna like jump into some things later that like I really didn't think about until this week. but
Yeah.
it's wild. So you told me one time about, remember you saw a video that the Cybertruck is actually an old world concept and there were drawings from back in the day?
Yes. So digging through all this Tartarian structure, I found an image of what we see today, the Cybertruck, the SUV that Elon invented. And it's the exact same thing in a drawing. And it makes you wonder, like, are they taking all this technology that we had thousands of years ago? Did they already have that back then? Elon knew about this, and now he's just making money and just redoing what we've already had in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy because some people claim that Elon could actually be like a clone of Tesla. So wouldn't that be even funnier
I could see it.
if he said that like he was such a fan of Edison, like what a great cover up because everybody's like, I mean, it's so crazy. So I think to understand that, I think we need to look at the rivalry of Edison and Tesla because at one point Tesla was the one that like people wanted to back and give money like JP Morgan I'm pretty sure was backing Tesla
Yeah.
and then when Tesla was like, "No man, I'm going to give this energy away for free. We're going to have free energy. It's going to make all of this innovation. Society is going
Mhm.
to boom. It's going to flourish. Everybody's going to be on top." And JP Morgan was like, "You mean there's no way to charge for this?" And he was like, "Nah, dog, because it's going to be a free energy." And so he said, "No, no, we're going to go with Edison, who has these power stations that you could charge for." But it's also like,
Yeah.
how did they get the idea at the same time?
It goes back. We were talking about this in a couple episodes ago. I have read where, the aliens are send because they can't interfere with us because it's free will, but that they can send down, I guess a meditation or thought, right? Because Nikola Tesla, he would say how he was always, always quiet. He always sat quietly and he would get all of these thoughts. And so I think that the aliens are giving us, these thoughts at the same time and hoping that, several people are going to get this thought, but only maybe one or two of them are going to actually do something with it.
Yeah, I think you could say it's like an alien, maybe a high, some people would say higher power. It doesn't have to like be
Yeah.
so scary,
Yeah.
but there is like some kind of energy or something that is downloading thoughts into people's brains. There's like history has many cases of things being discovered and invented at the same time. It's like Tesla also admitted, right, that he got a lot of his information from Egypt. So it makes it even crazier that once Tesla was kind of outlawed by JP Morgan, he was on the outskirts.
Mhm.
Nobody would lend him money. And then shortly after that, his like free energy tower was seized by the FBI because it was like dangerous or whatever because they wanted to stop everyone from having free energy. And then like
Right. Great.
when he died, all of his documents were seized by the FBI. And then like what happens after that?
Yeah, and how on earth did Trump's uncle get a hold of some of his inventions is what I want to know. And speaking of that, randomly, have you ever seen The Adventures of Baron book?
Yes.
Have
Yeah.
you seen? So it ties, right? It makes you wonder, did Trump's uncle did he use any of these inventions of Nikola Tesla? And is Barron a time traveler? What is going on? I mean, the illustration looks just like a Baron Trump. It's weird. But anyway, it's just interesting that Trump's uncle got a lot of Nikola Tesla's either documents or maybe he got actual inventions. I'm not 100% sure. Do you know?
I don't know, but like I never really thought about it, but the parallel between Donnie Trump's uncle having the possession of the documents and then all of a sudden in the election we saw this friendship out of nowhere, right? With Elon and Trump. Like it came out of left field. Like that
You're right.
even goes more into like the theory that we're going to talk about. So you talked about Barron could be a time traveler, which means that Elon could be a time
Elon could
traveler.
be.
But it's
Oh
like,
my gosh.
could it really actually be the clone narrative? That is where my head goes in these theories, is that like Tesla's clone was Elon. Like you see these pictures, they have these weird similarities. They both were geniuses in like the same exact way. They're both revolutionizing humankind, like mankind. So there's a lot of
And
similarities.
I forgot. I had read this a long time ago, but Nikola Tesla, before he died, he invented something to where he would come back in five different people at one time because he knew. I know. It's crazy. It's so crazy, but I swear I read that. I need to find it out because there was a long time ago, I was going down this rabbit hole and some guys had really looked into this. And there's like a guy that's inventing things now, and his name is Quincy Adams or something like that. And they wondered if he was, and that's where I learned it from. These guys, they were doing their own like podcast and research about just Nikola Tesla. And they had brought that up that he possibly could have come back in five different. So yeah, it makes sense. Then Elon could be one of them.
And
And so now Elon coming to hang out, party, right? Because we just learned that Nikola Tesla was celibate, but yet Elon's got how many kids with how many baby mamas?
yeah, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a clone program. Maybe all of those kids are little clones of Elon, and like X is like the most successful clone, so that's why he always brings him around.
It's
So it
weird.
could be like,
It is weird how everyone feels.
yeah, the third generation of Tesla right there. And then it's like, so I've never thought about this until this moment again. I don't like the craziest things come to me while we're on here talking. But
I
what
know.
if Barron is just one of Donald Trump's clones?
Damn.
What if that's the technology that his uncle found?
And that's why they have the book about Adventures of Baron. Oh, man.
But it's like,
Interesting. Well, they're all,
yeah, it goes so much deeper. It goes
yeah,
into pop culture. Like you can see videos on social media all the time where it'll go through history and find like a celebrity like Nicolas Cage, for example, that there'll be like
yeah.
historic photos where he's existed before.
Justin Timberlake is one of them. I saw pictures of him.
Like Katy
Katy
Perry.
Perry.
Katy Perry is either a robot or a clone or something for sure because
There. One of her concerts, her like I was like doing this. Did you see that?
yeah.
That's totally a clone malfunction.
And then, and this is gonna be a shock to all my Tay Tay lovers. Like, I know that y'all love Tay Tay, but I need you to go to your favorite search engine and look up Xena LaVey, and then let's talk about how crazily similar that they look, and that Xena LaVey was the daughter of Anton LaVey, who was the founder of the Church of Satan. So either it's like a doppelganger situation, or she could possibly I think Xena LaVey is still living, so she could be a clone of LaVey, or maybe like her offspring that they put into a different family so that she could
Yeah.
become this icon. Because I don't know if anyone from the Church of Satan would become an icon like mainstream.
It's just I had no idea until you brought this up to me yesterday. And I mean, I always knew Taylor was part of this group, which is why I quit listening to her a while back. I had it she looks just like Xena when she was younger. To a T. To a T. And then we go down the rabbit hole of music. And Xena and her husband, right, are doing an interview back in the 80s. And they're talking about how the music that they play will make you basically it brings out the lower vibrations of you fear, anger, sadness. Well, it's meant for all that. And apparently you feel those what you feel that way or those emotions after you listen to their music. So that makes me wonder with some of these musicians, when you listen to their music, how do you feel after the song? Do you feel sad, fearful, afraid, angry? Or do you feel happy? Like, I don't know. I mean, I've listened to some of Taylor's songs and they're like more upbeat, right? But I mean, I don't know. Is there a hidden message in there? There was also, oh, I forgot to look up his name. He's a rapper. But there was a concert not that long ago and like 10 people died. And it was the music, it was doing something, and
Oh,
these people were like having heart attacks or something.
Travis Scott. It was the Travis Scott.
Yeah, and they kept asking him to stop, and he wouldn't. And it's coming out now that he's part of that group. So I don't know. I'm not going to a concert for a little while. I'm at least going to make sure whoever I do go listen to, at least is not going to make me feel lower vibrations. Let's just leave it
Yeah,
at
I
that.
know, and it's so crazy. But while we're talking about what's going on in modern society, let's take a look back. Let's take a little trip down history lane, and guess where it leads us? Back to the Biltmore and back to the
Oh my gosh, it
Vanderbilts.
always leads us back there. It's kind of getting freaky now how everything is still linking to the Biltmore.
So
But
I
let's
was
keep
at
going.
Biltmore. They have random exhibits. They had the King Tut exhibit. I went in and I just thought that like so they'll have like the Titanic exhibit or something. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I've never thought about that. They've had a Titanic exhibit and they missed the Titanic. Anywho, well
My gosh, that's when they started the Federal Reserve. Oh my god,
well
that's a
the
whole
the
nother.
Vanderbilts
That's a whole
missed
nother.
the Titanic.
They missed it. But I think because they knew it was going to be taken down, and they didn't want to go down with it.
Yeah, they said they had a
They were told.
scheduling conflict. Like, who misses the inaugural sailing of the grandest ship in the world because you had like a meeting scheduling conflict? But anyways, so back to
It's just weird.
how the Vanderbilts are related to Egypt is they all of the elites were really into Egyptology and they understood that the symbolism, the numbers, everything that they did had meaning. So it's like out of all of the society, like all of the old worlds, why were they so obsessed with Egypt? And
It is weird.
Cornelia Vanderbilt married into the Cecil family, and May Cecil actually was like super close with Howard Carter, who is the person that found King Tut's tomb. Like she literally drove his passion and influenced everything about his love and desire to go and find these tombs. And of course, finance, a lot of like the finance. So it's like what were the elite people trying to find? They were trying to find these artifacts to keep for themselves. Like I know it's like rich people like to collect rare objects, but did they think that these objects had like
Gold.
powers that or like technology that they were
Ooh.
all trying to get their hands on first? That's something to think about. And then when you just look at all of the architects, all of the Egyptian symbolism just in America in general is wild. Like obelisks
It is.
come from Egypt and you see them
And it
everywhere.
Yeah, you do. Going back to your King Tut, though, I had no idea about this. Like, you taught me all about this stuff. And then you look at all the stuff that they put in his room to gift for him. It's just like you were saying, I have a feeling it's a lot of things that are made of gold, silver, a lot of healing things. There's probably crystals in there because it's just interesting how the wealthy they put everything in a trust. So that way it stays in the family no matter what. And the things they have over years and years and years, you're 100% right. It's definitely got some kind of powers to it. Or why on earth would you bury it with them?
I know, and it's like King Tut, his tomb was like so random, and it's like why four coffins? Like why four gold coffins?
Gold.
Why do you
Yeah,
need all of that
four.
protection? And you can go into the curse of the guy that when they open the tomb, the guy and his
Yeah.
bird died from the snake bite, and because the Egyptians were like, "Don't go in there, don't go in there, it's cursed," and they were like, "We don't care." And they went in there, and the next day, the one of the guys died from a snake bite, and so did his like parrot. And so
No
they say that
way.
like King Tut's tomb is cursed. But yeah, I put a little curse on that too. That like leave me alone.
Yeah, man. It almost makes you wonder, like, are they put that guy on our TikTok, he's teaching me some things too about how they did it thinking that they would come back, you know? It's just I never even thought about that. I thought about like they were mummies, that's just they honored them like that. Not that they would possibly come back. But talking about Egypt, it is all over America. You go to Vegas, you see that kind of stuff, right? You go to Memphis, you see that kind of stuff. Um, we're finding out there's like pyramids all over America that they've been hidden. People are even saying, like, look at mountains and look at hills. There aren't just hills, right? Like, there's something under there,
There's one
underneath the ocean, even.
there's one
Huh?
there's a pyramid in Georgia, I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, all over the Americas.
They're all over.
All it
Yeah.
so
It's amazing how much they are. But since we're talking about this Memphis thing and the zoo, apparently there is something about Memphis that we need to look into. Memphis, Tennessee,
which like
not Memphis, Egypt.
no one would have been talking about Memphis, Tennessee if it weren't for Elon Musk. So this all ties back into Elon Musk and the theory around things that he said, like his interview with Jordan Peterson, where he shocked him, where he said the next god is coming from
The
Memphis,
next
Tennessee, and Jordan Peterson was like,
He was like, I think he goes, "Yeah, I believe you're right, but it's not funny." And my ears perk up, like, "What the hell are y'all talking about? The
"No,
next god?"
Jordan Peterson said, I wish that was funny."
Oh, that's right. I wish that was
Yeah,
funny. Yeah.
Jordan Peterson said out like nervously said, "I wish that was funny." Elon like paused and thought about it for a minute, and then he even echoed back, "Huh, you wish that was funny." And Jordan Peterson's like, "So
Yeah,
that puts
it
my
got a little
antennas up."
yeah, it got a little uncomfortable in that interview, and that's so let's dig into why the heck Elon is in Memphis, Tennessee. But while we were doing that, I also found out that there are a lot of similarities between Memphis, Tennessee and Memphis, Egypt. And Elon is the reason I went down this rabbit hole because he even mentioned in that same interview when he were talking about his supercomputer center moving to Memphis, Tennessee. Elon wittily just kind of slides in a comment there and says Memphis is the capital of Egypt. And I never knew that. But it's at first I was thinking, okay, so is Egypt really in America and not really where it's at today? But then I started researching some more, and now I'm kind of under the impression that maybe Egypt is everywhere. Memphis, Tennessee just happens to be very similar to how Egypt is set up. They've got the Nile River, you've got the Mississippi River. They are very similar in their outline. You have Memphis, Tennessee sitting right beside the Mississippi River. You have Egypt sitting right beside the Nile River. They're also on Lee lines, come to find out, which the Biltmore is on a Lee line. And Lee lines are basically if you take the world and you map it out, there are Lee lines that cross over each other. And we think where these lines are crossing is where you have like the Biltmore House or where you have the Memphis Zoo or where you have things like that. And we can dig into that in another episode, but Lee lines
Well,
mean free energy.
let me just add, the ley lines, they say the Great Pyramid in Egypt is where they all go out from across the world. And it's like, but there is one that runs directly through like the East Coast.
So,
And it goes to
yep.
like Memphis and then down through like Asheville through the Biltmore. So why were they building near these ley lines? People will say they don't exist, but like if you map them out, these straight lines, I think they were originally discovered as trade routes. They thought these straight lines were, but all these giant castles and stuff that were ancient or built in the early 1900s were all along these lines. So if there was free power, they would need to be close to the energy source, right? And then they also say a
Right.
lot of this stuff lies on like fault lines as well. So like where the energy could
Yep.
come up. So like Stonehenge, the pyramids, different ancient mysterious
We do.
places like that are on the fault lines where the earthquakes come. So it's like, why is that? Or maybe it's not sparked to us, but to them it was where they got a source of energy from,
Yeah. And they've
theoretically.
just hid it from us this whole time. We didn't know. Yeah. So, that's why we're like, okay, well, that makes sense why Elon's moving his supercomputer center to Memphis, Tennessee. Now,
Why should we care about
going
it?
back, why should we care? So, the reason we're caring about it is because it was kind of brought to my attention. If you look at the people that live in the towns where these supercomputer centers are, it starts to affect the environment around them. And what we found is a lot of people in the town around the data center have the highest number of emergency visits for asthma. And then you look at Memphis as an entire city out of Tennessee, and they're like the number one of the worst air pollution you have. So it's very concerning because you have basically it's the turbines, right? It's the turbines that are producing all this energy for the computers that host all this cloud storage, I guess. When you have these turbines running like that, they produce this methane, and that is what comes in the air, and that's what we breathe in, and it also probably gets in your water as well, like what we were talking on our last podcast. But people are starting to have COPD, which is a breathing condition, asthma condition. And if that many people in that town are starting to get it, I think we need to like look at something here. But what's interesting is Memphis, it was so the crime there was awful.
Yeah.
And you have everybody saying, "Oh my God, my kids can finally, drive down the street on their bikes and I don't have to worry about them being unsafe." And I mean, it's all over social media about how great it is that like Trump brought in the National Guard and how it's like cleaning house and all the criminals are hiding in their house and now we have our city back and blah blah blah. And it's great. It's fantastic. But now it's like, well, shit, why are they doing that? Why are they all of a sudden now cleaning house when we could have done it years ago? But now we're all of a sudden cleaning house because now you have all these data centers. And with that, I mean, more businesses are going to come with Elon. I mean, Elon's not going to do this by himself. I mean, there's going to be other people that come and build their data centers that support him. And I mean, that's going to be a lot of energy. But that also made you and I question like, well, maybe that makes sense why he's on these Lee lines, and that's why he picked Memphis is because one, the name Memphis, because of Egypt, because they're all obsessed with ancient Egypt, we're finding out. But there's something bigger there. So he must think that he's gonna get free energy later or something on top of getting it, through the normal way that we all get electricity.
Well, that's interesting to think about. Like, I do know that Memphis used to have a ton of crime. Well, I don't know about like the present state, but I do know like notoriously Memphis has had a ton of crime, which always makes me think that's like, Asheville has a ton of crime and homelessness and whatnot. And it's like almost like, does the evil come to these energetic centers because they know like they can feed off of it? And like, we just aren't aware that we could use
Ooh.
it for good, but they are aware that like they're drawn into these like places and they kind of let
Yeah.
them overtake the cities. Like Asheville used to be really nice and really safe, and now it's like a drug dealer's paradise.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like when I go, I'm like, oh my gosh, like people are walking around like zombies. What happened to my beautiful, weird Asheville? It's not beautiful and weird anymore. It's scary and
Yeah.
disturbing that
Like
the community, it's like the haves and the have nots. Like it's crazy. But
Yeah.
so all of these cities around the world, they have energetic points. We're starting to see that not just in Egypt, not just in the Americas, but all over the world, even in the oceans, that they are discovering pyramids, sun temples everywhere, star maps everywhere, sacred geometry. When you look at all of these old cities, they're all laid out in grids and different symbolisms. These grand homes have all of these gardens that have all of this symbolism. Everything is symbolic. Why was that? And it's like, were we just copying? Was everybody just copying Egypt, or was that stuff already here? It's like, were they just like, oh, Egypt architecture, super cool. We're going to incorporate that into the entire founding of our American cities. Or were they like, there's power to this. We're going to incorporate this into our cities. Or were those structures already here because Egypt wasn't just in Egypt, it was a worldwide civilization. Have you thought about that?
It blows my mind, but it makes so much sense now. Like, even in the Grand Canyon, there's a guy on TikTok teaching me some more things. And then I went down that rabbit hole and, we brought in people from out of the country to come and blow up certain structures in the Grand Canyon to hide this kind of stuff. I mean, why on earth would we go out of our way that much to hide things? It's just it almost pisses me off a little bit,
Yeah, it's like
because we have to pay all this. Go ahead.
Yeah, it makes me mad too because like we want these beautiful structures and like these grand things are just being like wiped off the earth. And then when you think about wars and they're like throughout history, they're really fighting over this architecture and the importance of this architecture. And then sometimes they just burn entire cities down to also wipe it out. So it's like he who controls those
Yeah.
buildings has some sort of power, you know? We don't know, but it's like speaking
Mhm,
of like
mhm.
blowing things up, it reminds me of rockets, which makes me think of Elon and SpaceX. And
Yeah.
remember when we were in Folly and y'all came over and we like
Yes.
accidentally saw a SpaceX launch?
That was pretty cool. I mean, it was so neat to watch. But the one thing I noticed is that it did not go straight up.
I know.
It went like this. Did you notice that?
Yes, and people I've seen videos where people will argue the trajectory. To me, it seems like it's going across the sky and not up. But also, I thought it was
Yeah.
weird. I saw a video later. You know how boats, when they move through water, they have like the jet stream that that follows behind them in the water, like from their engine.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
what the SpaceX launch looks like when it's dragging through the air. It looks like it has a tail, like a stream dragging through the water.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
nobody believe
Are
no,
they at the top of the firmament?
yeah, like is that like just cruising along the firmament wall? I
I
believe
cannot
that.
agree with you. I mean, I've even starting to see videos where people are shooting stuff up and like it's bouncing off of something. And then I saw this other video the other day where like goes through something. They're like, oh my God, it's water. But I can't tell if Elon is good or bad. I cannot figure out which side he is on because he builds these rockets to nowhere. And this is where I'm like, maybe he's on our side and maybe he's just trying to tell us something, but he knows he can't tell us because they'll take him out just like they took Nikola out. Could he possibly be? Just pathetically, right? What if Elon is spending all this money to make these rockets to prove to us they do not go past the firmament, that they do not go to Mars or outer space, that they are literally blowing up as soon as they hit the firmament? It makes me wonder, could he be telling us and that's the way he's telling us? I don't know. I don't know.
99.98% sure we did not go to the moon when we did the moon landing.
And if we did go, then we found something there that told us that we needed to leave.
Yeah.
That's the only other thing that I can kind of understand. And then they made what we saw, in the studios. Like that's the only other thing that I've come across that I'm like, okay, so if we did supposedly go to the moon, then there were aliens on there because I'm hearing all kinds of stuff about the moon, but that's different. But I can't figure out Elon because he does these super data centers knowing that it's hurting the environment, but then he does things like that. I don't know. I don't know. I can't figure it out
You know,
if he's good or bad.
I know it's hard because it's like, is he an evil genius? I mean, but are all of these guys like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, the list can go on of these guys they just want to try to be the one who figures it out, right? They want the power.
Yeah.
They want to be the one who gets the glory of figuring out how to save humanity. And I saw a video today of Elon Musk, and he was like talking about the Bible randomly and was like talking about the book of Revelation. And he was like, it can't just like end like that. Is there a Revelations part two that we don't know about where there's like a good outcome? So it's like I could tell like his
Interesting.
heart is like wanting to save the world, but at the same time, what's the cost while doing it? You know, it's like
Yeah.
I think
Yeah. So he does Starlink, which is a great thing, right? So it helps people like in North Carolina after the hurricane. That's a great thing. But then he goes and makes Neuralink, which is a chip in your brain, which is, I mean,
but
I don't know. I don't
it's
want any chip in me at all.
I know, but I can play devil's advocate on that because, like, the advancement for someone like Callahan that could get from her cerebral palsy, getting a chip in her brain that tells her, like, her pathways, because her problem is her neural pathways just don't communicate properly to tell her hand to get to her mouth. So it's like, I am for the advancement as long as it's used in a good way. But I think what history has taught us is, like, we can't play God. Things go wrong when we start playing God. And these
They
billionaires
always go
all
wrong.
have a little bit of God egos, like the God complex. I mean,
big
they have
time. I
to.
think I just get bored.
People will comment on our social media stuff about like the Vanderbilts and whatnot, about they're such great people. And I'm like, sure, that's the story that history wants you to believe. And I'm not even saying that they are bad people, but no one becomes the richest people in America by not stepping on toes. You know, like elites step on toes. They have a club, we ain't in it, and they're not out to look out for you. They don't care. You're disposable.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. We're all totally disposable. I mean, even like the celebrities and stuff that sign, like a lot of the musicians that sign their soul away, they'll even say, they're just they don't care about them either. They're
Yeah,
just puppets to help them make money. Because at the end of the day, it's all greed for them. I think power and greed.
I think that is like what you I think that's what like evil is in the world, right? It's like we always have these wars that are like moral wars, but they're really not wars. They're
Yeah,
for someone's ego or for a precious resource that a country needs to be able to survive. So it's never, but they always
hmm
need a moral cause, right? But it's like when we look back
yeah,
at Egypt, I feel like history books, like yeah, they sold them as an advanced society, but they also kind of sold them as like primitive people. I'm starting to think that the ancient Egypt, like ancient Egyptians, were way more advanced than we ever were, like we ever could dream of being. And so it's like in
yeah.
history books, you'll see them as like these simple people with these grand structures with silly kind of makeup on, right? Like that's how you see them. And
And they made us think that. Yeah.
like the
'Cause now we know who wrote all the textbooks.
Right? So it's like some of the Egyptian practices that they were like really big into. And since like we're on a health journey, I'm like started meditating. I love to try to look into things. So it's like they were really into lucid dreaming and like consciousness travel, remote viewing, ritual initiation, and afterlife navigation, which funny enough are all things that the CIA has programs for trying to do. I found out today that there was a program in
Isn't that
this
interesting?
the program in the CIA where they were trying to use psychics to like lift people's thoughts, like so steal secrets from people's brains.
So anybody that was actually thinking of,
So like
you
you
know,
don't have to tell the
waking up out of this
secret.
matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't have to,
Oh
so
my
it's like you
gosh.
know a state secret, right? And they're asking you about it and you're
Yeah.
thinking about it in your head, but you would never say it out loud. You're going to lie to them, but you're thinking about the truth.
Right.
And then that person would lift the thought. And I'm like, there was a legit CIA program looking into that.
Oh my
So all of the
gosh.
ancient Egyptian practices we have been trying to replicate, and maybe we've done it and we don't know about it, but I think that there's a lot of like power and energy that we're not tapping into, and they don't want us to know about it.
Yeah.
They don't want us to know
Yeah.
that we could all rise.
Well, that we can astro travel. So he's talking about that. So I've been trying to like remember my dreams. And one of my dreams was to listen more to channelers. So I've been doing that. And Elizabeth April is one of them. And she has even said how like she can astro travel and she went inside of the moon. There's a base. She's even gone and there she said for the first time she encountered military guys that were also astro traveling, protecting Antarctica so that people like her could not even get in there to even see what's in there.
Well, for our listeners, can you please tell us what astro traveling is?
So it's like deep meditation. You're laying in your bed, right? And you envision your body coming up. So that's what I'm learning is that in your mind, you envision yourself like rising out of your body, like with a tube attached kind of thing. And just keep envisioning that and keep envisioning that. I mean, it's not easy. Hell, just learning how to meditate and finally get the pineal gland to activate took me years. It's not easy. I mean, it's all done to us so that it's not easy, but a lot more people are able to do it more now than I think ever before. And I think just being alone for even just 15 minutes in silence, all kinds of thoughts can come, but make sure they're, good thoughts. There are times like when I go to meditate and I have to ask like my guardian angels, my higher self to protect me and put like a light. This might sound funny to people, but to protect me and put like a light barrier around me to protect me because you can meditate and get negative entities to come and talk to you. I mean, they've even like come into people, and I'm learning that with channelers that they can help people that have like these negative entities, these demons or whatever that are attached to them. I didn't even know that was like a thing, but it makes sense with all the exorcists and stuff. But it's very cool. So, you know, I'm just learning and listening to different channelers. They're talking to the spaceship that's in the sky that they say is a comet. But they're just interesting how they can just talk to different aliens or higher beings, angels, whatever, and telling us that right now, this is the time that we're about to shift, that the old world is like crumbling and the new world where it's more kind and loving is going to appear. And I'm ready to live in a world where there's more kindness and loving and help. I don't want one single homeless person. I don't want one single child in foster care. You know, I, I want to be, it just makes me wonder, like, why do we even have that? Like,
Yeah.
why do we have so many people homeless when we have how many churches that collect all of these tithes?
Yeah.
If one church took one homeless person in, we would completely eradicate homeless. Like, there would be no more homeless people.
Yeah, no, I
But
totally agree with that. It's like my every time like I ran into Ted, my homeless friend, who
mhm,
is like an older guy. I saw him. I went to a grocery store I never go to, and I saw him out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think that's Ted. And I went over there, and bless his
he's
heart,
right.
he had a walker, he had a cane, like he's getting like visibly
Oh,
older, and I was like, Ted, like, do you remember me? Where are you sleeping? And he said he did like find a friend's couch to like sleep on, but, like the night before he had to stay outside because he didn't catch a ride in time. And so the temperature got down to like 45. And he was like, I can layer up and I can last in like 55 and up weather, but like I just can't when it's below 55 degrees, it's really hard to live outside. And he's like, we have jackets. Jackets are easy to come by, but like my feet are frozen, my legs are frozen, and it's and then like I was like going to give him money and he was like, "Oh no, I don't want your money." And I was like, "Please, Ted." I was like, "You don't even understand. I think about you all the time." And I was like, and I always try to pay it. I was like, I pay it forward to people all the time, like thinking about you. And he was like blown away. But he was like, what's crazy? He's like, I never beg. So he's like, sometimes I go through drive through. This morning I went through the drive-through. There was no money. I was like, I'm gonna go walk through the drive-through one more time, and there was 85 cents, and that's how much a senior coffee is at Bojangles. So he was able to get a coffee, and then I gave him enough money that he could go and like get a nice warm meal. And I tried to go buy him some stuff, but he did assure me that he was did have places to sleep indoors. But it's really like the majority of the people that I help and I encounter are elderly. And that is just like soul crushing to me that we as a
and
society are doing this. And I understand people are fallible and people have problems, but no one deserves to be 75 years old outside trying to like sleep in the woods.
and he's told us that he doesn't feel comfortable going to the shelter.
Yeah, because they get beat up and taken advantage of. It's really sad. But anyway, so it's like
We went on our tangent.
we did go on a tangent, but that is just to say that it's like we need to bring back good. Each one of us has the
Yeah.
collective ability to rise together. The collective conscious has to get out of this negative vibration. And if we're living in fear, if we're living in anxiety, if we're like worried about the future, if we're not paying it forward, if we're looking out for ourselves rather than everyone around us, not supporting our community, like those are not things that are going to help further humanity. We got to get back to like the root cause, right?
Yeah, because it's our reality at the end of the day, and our minds and what we think about is what we live. And when we learn that, we can all focus on positive thoughts, and then positive things will happen. And we're a lot stronger, thinking about the same thing. It's just like prayer, when you have somebody really sick and you have the entire church, hundreds of people praying for this same person, but praying the exact same prayer and miracles happen. I mean, if we all, you can pray, you can meditate, whatever, but let's all try and just say we want to be in a more loving and a more kind world, and we will, because that's how powerful we are.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to explain to everybody, is that we've uncovered this and we just want to scream it at the rooftops that, like, we are very powerful, and they are hot, they are making it so that we don't realize how powerful we are. And when we realize that, like, God is in us, we are God living in this reality. Like, we create our own reality. We just use the word God. I mean, some people use the word source, but I mean, that is how powerful we are.
Yeah, I mean, we're very powerful people. Like, I believe Jesus came to teach us a lesson of love. I think that we were all living the wrong way. We were looking at the world wrong, and God sent down his son to us to show us that we could live with kindness and help others. And, where I look at the churches is I just think that the churches need to look more like we need to bring back the what would Jesus do bracelets, right? Because, like, that is like Jesus came here to teach us that we can all be kind people. That is like
To help each other. Yeah.
as simple as it is to love one another, to accept one another, to like help your neighbor, but we've gotten away from that. And it's like church versus church, denomination versus denomination. It's like even within the Christian world, it's like some people I'm like, I don't know." And then some people look at me and are
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, I don't know. She's not, living a true Christian life." But it's like we all just need it's the underlying theme, right? So we've talked a lot. We've talked a lot this season. We've gone through the pyramids. We've gone through electricity wars. We've talked about rocket ships, the Vanderbilts, the World's Fair. And, we really want to make sure that as we bring you this show, that we're bringing it to you in like a good light. We don't want to bring anyone's net energy down. We want to bring you up. So we just want to shed light on what has happened in the past that maybe they're not telling us the story so that we can figure out what the story is and how we can use it to be collectively better people, right?
And not just recycle the same playbook over and over and over again, and then hide the truth and reset us over and over.
I know. So if we have to be two Southern crazy girls over here drinking our iced coffees, talking about conspiracies and hidden history, and if people want to call us crazy, we'll bring it on. But I think that we're helping people open up their eyes and open up their minds to just think a little bit bigger. Just use your critical thinking skills to piece together what makes sense for you.
Right. And realizing that the world is more layers than our high school textbooks do. And we're just here to remind you to stay curious, stay questioning, and never take the official story at face value.
We're going to take a little break, so we'll see you after the holidays. But trust us, the journey is just beginning. We have so many fun things planned, and we will see you soon. So stay tuned and bless your heart.
And hope you have a happy Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas.